One of the unique contributions that Buddhist masters, particularly in Japan, have developed is the introduction of a koan, which is usually a paradoxical statement designed to usurp the rational mind. It is also a method to prompt a spontaneous satori, or awakening. It does this by demonstrating the utter absurdity of believing that as humans, we somehow grasp reality by thinking about it. Yes, we certainly know some aspects of the cosmos and our place within it, but therein lies the crux of the problem. We tend to conflate our mental maps for the territory itself, forgetting that all we ever know is but an infinitesimally small granule of the totality of existence. The enlightened Zen master uses a koan precisely like a skilled surgeon uses a fine instrument, to cut away the cancer that is injurious to the patient. At first, the paradoxical statement is understood literally. The mind attempting to grasp its meaning in a linear and rational way is confounded since it defies logic. Then the aha moment arises when the mind is stopped in its permutations and comes at rest at its place of origin. A delightful ananda, or bliss, spontaneously permeates throughout one's being, and one's time as a disciple, as a student, no longer. She is the present. She is the sunyata, or the clear void brightness, unconditioned, though within a condition. The following koans by Mumon come from the famous text known in English as the Gateless Gate, which was translated by Nyogen Senzaki and Paul Reps. I have only chosen 24 koans for this edition, and I have left out any commentary on them. I have consciously done this, since I think the reader will benefit more by approaching these paradoxical jewels without explanation. May these be seeds for further enlightenment. Joshu's dog. A monk asked Joshu, a Chinese Zen master, "Has a dog Buddha nature or not?" Joshu answered, "Mu, no thing. Nani mo nai." 2. Hyakujo's fox. Once, when Hyakujo delivered some Zen lectures, an old man attended them, unseen by the monks. At the end of each talk, when the monks left, so did he. But one day, he remained after they had gone, and Hyakujo asked him, "Who are you?" The old man replied, "I am not a human being, but I was a human being when the Kashyapa Buddha preached in this world. I was a Zen master and lived on this mountain. At that time, one of my students asked me whether or not the enlightened man is subject to the law of causation. I answered him, the enlightened man is not subject to the law of causation. For this answer, evidencing a clinging to absoluteness, I became a fox for 500 rebirths. And I am still a fox. Will you save me from this condition with your Zen words, and let me get out of a fox's body? Now, may I ask you, is the enlightened man subject to the law of causation?" Hyakujo said, "The enlightened man is one with the law of causation." At the words of Hyakujo, the old man was enlightened. "I am emancipated," he said, paying homage with a deep bow. "I am no more a fox, but I have to leave my body in my dwelling place behind this mountain. Please, perform my funeral as a monk. Then he disappeared. The next day, Hyakujo gave an order through the chief monk to prepare to attend the funeral of a monk. No one was sick in the infirmary, wondered the monks. What does our teacher mean? After dinner, Hyakujo led the monks out and around the mountain. In a cave with his staff, he poked out the corpse of an old fox and then performed the ceremony of cremation. That evening, Hyakujo gave a talk to the monks and told him of this story about the law of causation. Obaku, upon hearing the story, asked Hyakujo, "I understand that a long time ago, because a certain person gave a wrong Zen answer, he became a fox for 500 rebirths. Now I want to ask, if some modern master is asked many questions and he always gets the right answer, what will become of him?" Hyakujo said, "You come here near me, and I will tell you." Obaku went near Hyakujo and slapped the teacher's face with his hand, for he knew this was the answer his teacher intended to give him. Hyakujo clapped his hands and laughed at this discernment. "I thought a Persian had a red beard," he said, "and now I know a Persian who has a red beard."
Radiance, without an edge. The mystical way of oneness. Ganesha's secret enclave. One enters the temple through a liquid tunnel adorned with golden-brown statues of Lord Ganesha. The aqua-blue water undulates under a clear glass cover. The visitor glides effortlessly toward the open chamber door. As one proceeds along the passage, one sees orange translucent shells growing from the embankment. In the center, and blocking the pathway, is a magnificent fully-bodied Lord Ganesha, adorned with a dome-like crown. Strangely, as the pilgrim gets closer to Lord Ganesha, he changes form into a younger incarnation arrayed in psychedelic colors. Then reverberating throughout the corridor, one hears, "To worship any being is to give something away. Are you ready for such a sacrifice?" If the seeker acquiesces and responds with a clear and convincing yes, then she is led to Ganesha's inner sanctum. It is here that the real lessons of puja are learned. What is worshipped is but a virtue that has yet to fully blossom. Finally, after displaying the requisite sincerity, Lord Ganesha blesses the aspirant with the following benediction. The first step on the inward path is grounded in acknowledging our limitations. Know thy limits, and only then can one be liberated. Matsubasho's retreat. The Zen master, trained in the Renzai school in Japan, then opened up an ancient parchment and read aloud the following. There is no retreat from the world, since it is, in itself, the retreat. Coming here, you go there. The master then pointed to the door, gesturing for me to leave the monastery. "But," I protested, "I just arrived." He then smiled and said, "Welcome," after which he gave me a broom and a dustbin and said, "Now clean." After I was done, 3 acolytes slowly, studiously, and systematically made me a cup of tea. They moved their hands as if they were choreographed by an unseen force. Finally, I was offered an emerald green cup from which to drink. On its side was an undecipherable symbol. The Epigones proceeded to recite in unison a haiku poem from Matsu Basho. A monk quietly sips his morning tea, a flowering chrysanthemum. I was led into a clean meditation hall that had a large circular window looking out to the trees. There were 5 monks, 4 sitting and 1 standing on a slightly elevated podium. I took my position amongst them, but no instruction was given. After 1 hour of silent sitting, I was led outside to a sand garden, perfectly combed in expanding concentric circles, framed by lush foliage, trees, and artfully arranged rocks. One of the students whispered in my ear, "The sand is but waves representing our own thoughts." I then proceeded to imagine myself as a Zen master controlling all the chaos around me. I focused my attention on an illuminated orb which calmed the cascading thought waves as they crashed and lost their potent energy force. After this, I was led to a stone pathway where I was to continue with a walking meditation. I did this by following a senior monk, who led me deeper into the forest. All the while keeping my mind as still as possible and absorbing my environment unfiltered. The next day, all the Zen monks, under the guidance of the master, were led to a stupendous Japanese pagoda. We had to cross a bridge over a small waterfall to reach the multi-storied building. I wasn't sure at first what the purpose of our trek was all about. One of the younger Zen monks then spoke to me. "The pagoda is merely a facade. What it conceals is more important." I then beheld a circular monument with lush green foliage framing a powerful waterfall behind it. I was then led to a grotto where there was a massive statue of Buddha. It looked ancient with moss all around, but most curiously, Buddha was holding a tiny head in his left palm. I asked my guide about its significance. I got no reply, but only silence. I saw a monk meditating near the waterfall and decided to sit myself and observe the sound of the rushing water. I forgot about the Buddha image and the other students. There was only the falling liquid splashing. Haiku 1. The old pond. A frog leaps in. Sound of the water. Haiku 2. When I ate a persimmon. The bell rung. The Horyuji temple. After this momentary satori, I walked on a lonely trail through the woods until I came upon an aged plaque. One haiku written on it stood out. A cicada shell. It sang itself utterly away. Rumi's Tavern. There is a plethora of mystical experiences, but the one that most seek is where there is no separation between the lover and the beloved, where only love reigns supreme and all worldly machinations disappear. Yet in searching for oneness, the aspirant gets entrapped in a dualism of her own making. There is no quest as such for this ultimate attainment. Rather, it is a radical undoing and letting go of all such pretensions. To be sure, there are many techniques that neophytes employ to help them calm the raging mind. In Sufism zikr, the remembrance of God by continued repetition of a sacred name or names is highly praised as a preparatory means to commune with the divine. Perhaps the most beautiful practice to witness is semazen, where the Sufi commences in an ecstatic dance, often referred to as a whirling dervish. Here one combines prayer and breathing with movement. As Rumi explains, dancing is not just getting up painlessly like a leaf blowing on the wind. Dancing is when you tear your heart out and rise out of your body to hang suspended between the worlds. Eventually, the Sufi dance reaches its apex when the student becomes aware of a very subtle, inner music that draws one out of the physical corpus. Listening to this inner sound melody is regarded as Sultan ul Azkar, the greatest of all spiritual practices. As Dara Shikoh forcibly argues, there is no practice better than that of hearing this sound. This is because every other practice depends upon the will of the practitioner. If a moment stops it, the practice ceases. But not so this practice. It does not depend upon the will of the practitioner. It is present and available without ceasing and without interruptions at all times.